What is going on? If you own a pressure washing business or are looking to start one, then this video is for you. After starting, growing, and eventually selling my pressure washing business, I wanted to make this video today to help those that are either starting or in the beginning stages. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today, what we're actually going to cover is 7 steps to building a successful pressure washing company. Now, this specific plan is for someone that is starting from nothing. However, it can be applicable if, say, you're doing below 100K in annual revenue. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into step 1. Now, step 1 is having some sort of plan. So, what does that look like? Well, it means that we're going to take action, but we want to take action in a specific way. So watching this video, doing some research is a great place to start so that you can put together some sort of plan. So a couple things to note with a plan. You want to do some sort of market analysis, right? You want to make sure that you've got a large enough population to actually service. You've got, the right demographics. So typically speaking, especially if you're going to go after high-end residential stuff like that, you want enough of those homes in your area or the area that you're going to be serving for you to actually make money doing it. If there are only 100, high net worth individuals in your area and you're trying to be a premium service, that might not work out well. So that is why a plan in step 1 is super important. Another thing that is really good to do is competitor analysis. Not only determining how many competitors you have, but also seeing where their pricing is, what services they offer, how established are they in the marketplace, right? All of those things are very important. And then when doing both the initial market analysis and the competitor analysis, it can open up some opportunities, right? You can see deficits in the actual marketplace. Maybe there's an area that's underserved, or there's an area that, maybe doesn't have a level of service. So for example, say there's 10 other pressure washing companies, but they're all cheap companies. So maybe a premium service provider that has much more value, provides a better service, a better experience, is a deficit in the market, right? So by doing that initial analysis of both, again, the market and your competitors, it can open up possibilities to where basically there's gaps that you can fill in to ensure your success. After that, it's basically going to show you who your potential target audience is. Once you have those deficits and you see those gaps, it shows you who your target clients are going to be, which makes everything else a lot easier. From there, you want some sort of simple business plan. It doesn't have to be a 10-page thing, but some sort of simple outline that shows, what service you're gonna offer, who you're gonna offer it to, maybe start thinking about some pricing and some marketing stuff, and having some sort of goal, right? This is super important. Setting some sort of goal is important because it gives us something to shoot for. Now, setting a goal is great, but what you have to do is take action to actually hit that goal. So the goal is good, it's good to have there something to shoot for, but what we have to do is actually reverse engineer that goal to break it down into specific tasks, specific actions that we can take to ensure that we hit the goal, right? So that is a later step because we have to get some things going. We have to start taking some action to actually get the data we need to reverse engineer that specific goal. So that is step 1, having some sort of plan to actually execute on so that we ensure success. Step 2 is figuring out product market fit. And basically what this looks like is picking some sort of service. So for this example, we're gonna call it house washing. So we're washing siding on residential homes. So to actually get product market fit, you have hundreds, potentially thousands of people that you can reach out to in your network. Everything from your phone contacts to your social media contacts to your coworkers to your family friends, your friends, all of those people, right? So initially, the best thing that you can do is start reaching out to those people and seeing if they have any interest or needs for the services that you are potentially offering, right? So this is a product market fit because what you do is you ensure that there is a desire or a need for what you're offering, and you can start to line up some jobs, right? So step 2, again, is that product market fit, or really reaching out to your warm audience. You've already got they already know you, they already like you, and they already trust you, hopefully, right? And people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So if you have a network of people that you can reach out to initially, not only, again, do you ensure that there's that desire, that need, a fit for your services, you can also get some jobs lined up, which is super important in the beginning. Now, once you have done that, step 3 is actually setting the business up. So we've devised some sort of, back of napkin plan, call it. We've decided that there is a product market fit, and we've reached out to people in our warm audience and maybe even gotten a couple jobs lined up, but we know that people are interested. So next, we're actually going to set up the business. So first things first, you need some sort of legal entity. So this is gonna be like an LLC or, sole proprietorship, whatever it may be, you need to set that up. Now, this is not tax or legal advice. I would highly recommend going to a legal professional. That is what I've done for every single LLC that I have set up. So I highly recommend doing that, but you need to have some sort of legal entity that you set up. After that, you want to look into specific local licenses. So there's going to be different licenses based on state, county, city, etc. So you want to look into that for actually starting a business to ensure that you are not going to get in legal trouble down the road by not having the right licenses. After that, that's when, and this is something that can kind of go in tandem with the first two, which is some sort of name, right? And don't spend an exorbitant amount of time on this. This is something where just having the name is important, but not an end-all be-all, right? So coming up with some name that obviously tells what services you offer. So, like ABC Washing or ABC Exterior Cleaning, stuff like that, right? Nothing super complicated. Just get something that, again, says what you do and is super easy and simple to understand. But while you're creating the, again, potential entity, whatever that is, and also setting up the licenses and that stuff, you will probably need some sort of entity name. So again, this all kind of goes in tandem, but picking some sort of name and rolling with it, and then going to some sort of site like Looka, Wix, Canva, etc., and creating a quick logo, right? All of this stuff can be, it's branding, right? Between the name, the logo, that stuff, it's branding. Down the road, you can get this done by an expert graphic designer, an expert brander, whatever it may be. But for the time being, we just need something so that we can get started. In the beginning, too many people will focus on these little things like the name, the logo, all of that stuff. And while it is important, it does not really matter unless you have a real business. So getting this stuff set up initially, again, don't focus too much time on it. Just get it done, get it over with, and then down the road, as you actually start to grow and scale and get to a point where you know you're going to have a successful business, that's when it can make sense to actually invest in, potentially rebranding or coming up with a better name, better logo, etc. So once you have done that stuff and, we've got that stuff set up. So just to recap, some sort of entity, we've got the licenses, we've got insurance, we've got a name and a logo picked out. That's when it's good to create some sort of presence online. This makes you look more legit as a business, right? So we're talking about things like a landing page, your Google My Business, social media accounts, local listings. So if there's entities within your local area that allow, businesses to list on there, getting set up for things like that is super important for having an online presence. Reason being is that a large percentage, like 80 or 90%, don't quote me on that, it's a very high percentage of consumers will look a company up prior to purchasing. So having that online presence is extremely beneficial to providing the proof that you are a legitimate company if you do get a potential customer, right? So setting those things up, for landing pages, you've got things like Wix, Lead Pages, MailChimp, WordPress, some CRMs, which are customer relationship management tools, will allow you to set up landing pages and or websites within. But again, with all of this initial stuff, we are just doing it good enough. We don't need this to be perfect, right? If we wait for everything to be perfect, nothing will actually take off, right? Because we won't be taking the action we needed to actually start getting some sort of traction, fixing things, and then down the road perfecting it, right? So in the beginning, your landing page doesn't have to be perfect, right? Just as an example, you've got a headline, maybe a couple pictures showing what you do, talking about the benefits of your service, and a few ways for them to get in contact with you, and maybe some social proof like some reviews or testimonials that you've received from people that you've already done work for. That is simple enough that it's easy to do and can be put up in a day, if not less, and it works, right? So keep these things simple and just get them done. Google My Business is also free, but there's a verification process. So the quicker that you can get that started so you can get through the verification process so that you actually show up on Google is super important, right? And same with social media, right? It's good to just have a presence, especially if you plan to do something like running Facebook ads or running Instagram ads for your business. If you are running an ad and someone clicks on the business page that's running the ad and there's no post, or maybe there's one, doesn't build a whole lot of credibility, right? So it's good to start putting content on these places as soon as possible so that you can start to build that credibility. So that is step 3. And just to recap to this point, step 1, again, a plan, devising some sort of plan that we're going to execute on. Step 2 is product market fit and or going to our warm audience, potentially landing some jobs, but really just seeing if there's a need and a desire for the service before we start investing our time and a little bit of money to actually get everything set up. Once we've done that, step 3 is the actual setup, where we're setting up the legal entity, we're getting insurance, we're getting any required licenses, we're setting up some sort of name, some sort of logo, and an online presence, landing pages, Google My Business, social media, any local listings that you can, etc. That takes us to step 4. So again, in step 2, when we were figuring out that product market fit, the goal of that is to actually try to land a few jobs in your warm audience. Once you have done that, it allows you to do a couple things, right? Equipment-wise, you've got some options. So say that we landed 10 jobs from our warm audience that we reached out to, letting them know that we were thinking about getting into this business, asking them if it was a need and or desire of theirs. And we've got, basically, say we got 10 jobs from doing that, right? At that point, it's time to actually clean. We got everything set up that we need to. So this is where we get into equipment. And depending on your situation, most people, when they're getting into this industry specifically, the pressure washing, the soft washing, whatever it may be industry, typically might not have a ton of extra capital that you can put into the business itself. So there's really 2 options in my opinion, well, call it 3 options in my opinion, when it comes to your initial equipment. So option 1 is renting equipment for your first few jobs, right? And I like this because it allows you to spend a lot less. You don't have a huge, capital commitment of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to actually get started. And you can learn how to clean using somebody else's equipment, right? So places like home improvement stores, like Home Depot, Lowe's, places like that will rent out equipment. You've also got places like equipment rental, literal businesses, like they rent out equipment. Everything from lifts to, pressure washing equipment to all sorts of things. So places like that are another great resource to go to if you want to rent equipment in the beginning, especially. You can also go to like local hardware stores or local washing stores. There are a lot of pressure washing supply stores around the nation. So if you have one near you, it's a good idea to start that relationship by potentially renting some equipment from them. That's option 1. Option 2 is actually buying equipment, but doing it more so on a budget. So again, if you don't have a ton of money to spend, I don't recommend you going all out on equipment. I see this mistake way too often. You'll see it in all the online communities where, especially in the winter, people are having to sell their really expensive rigs because they spent all this money on equipment and then didn't know how to actually run a business or get customers. So I highly recommend that you don't spend too much money on the equipment. So the cheaper option if you want to buy is to go somewhere like a home improvement store, like a Lowe's or Home Depot, and get some sort of, call it, 3 to 4 gallon a minute machine that does, they range, call it 3,000 to 4,500 PSI. Getting one of those machines, you can typically get one for less than $1,000. With that and a downstream injector and a J-rod or an X-Jet, you can soft wash siding. And I'm gonna get into both of those in just a minute. But again, that is option 2, getting a, basically a setup for less than $1,000, along with those few other items will allow you to start washing siding, which you can make $500, $1,000 per house, right? So you can quickly remake up that investment, start making money, and then eventually reinvest into your equipment. Now, option 3 is going to some sort of, local wash store or one around the country, having them build out a full rig, a full skid for the back of a truck, whatever it may be. But again, that's probably gonna cost minimum $5,000, upwards of $50,000, $100,000, depending on what you get. So if you have some sort of trust fund that you're running off of and have the ability to do that, that's great. But if not, I highly recommend saving as much of your money as possible to invest in other things like, marketing and things that will actually grow your business, not the equipment. It's a common thing that I see, and I know I've already said this, but people think that if they have this great equipment or they have the best equipment, that customers will just start flowing in. But the thing is that you can have the best equipment, you can be the best at cleaning, you can provide the best experience, but if nobody knows who you are, nobody is going to buy from you. So while it is important, it's probably not the most important thing in my opinion. So let's go to the downstream injector and J-rod. So if you have some sort of pressure washer, ideally 3 to 5 gallons a minute in the beginning, because we need more gallons per minute to actually soft wash. Soft washing is where we are using more water volume than we are using pressure, and that water volume is mixed with some sort of cleaning agent to help get rid of the dirt, mildew, organic growth, whatever it may be on the surface. So again, 3 to 5 gallons a minute is going to be ideal. Obviously, if you can be at 4 or 5 gallons a minute, what that does is it just allows you to be more efficient. You put out more gallons per minute, more water volume, and you are able to actually clean faster. So once you have that actual pressure washer, what you then can do is either get a downstream injector and a J-rod, or you can get an X-Jet. The downstream injector and the J-rod are cheaper. I believe you can get both of those for about 50, 60, 75, somewhere in there, total, dollars that is, total, versus an X-Jet, minimum 150, and it goes up from there. So the downstream injector and J-rod are definitely cheaper, and that's actually the method that I preferred. So with the downstream injector and J-rod, the way that works is the downstream injector actually goes in line with your pressure hose right after the pump. That inline injector goes into a soap bucket and or tank, soap being sodium hypochlorite, whatever your cleaning agent is, right? And based on the J-rod, which is basically 4 different tips that have different orifice sizes, I say 4, there's a lot of different designs. You could have 3, 2, whatever it may be. The ones that we used had 4, but basically they have different orifice sizes and different patterns. The different orifice sizes basically means that they have different size holes. So depending on the hole, the Venturi effect will take place where it allows the downstream injector that we plugged in near the pump to either open or close, which means soap will either come into the line or close to where it can't come into the line and it's just water. That's how the downstream injector works very basically. We've also got an X-Jet, which an X-Jet is basically a similar concept to a certain extent, but it goes on the end of the hose. Again, not my preferred method. We have tried those, but I definitely prefer the downstream injector and J-rod, so that's the one I explained. But now that we have, again, gone through the steps that we've gone to, this is step 4, where we actually know we have some jobs, so we're getting some equipment. The next step is to actually clean those first 10, call it, right? From our friends and family and our network that we reached out to, you want to get some jobs from that. So we'll call it 10 for this example, right? So now we're actually gonna go clean those. So a lot of things happen, right? And I don't recommend trying to charge normal pricing for this or really even caring about pricing yet, because they are going to give you so much more by allowing you to actually clean for them than you will get by trying to take money from them, right? So just to name a couple things, one, you get to learn how to clean, which is something that moving forward can make you tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, right? So that's very beneficial. 2, you can get tons of content, and that content can be used to get you more jobs. So by going to their property, actually helping them out, you also get content, you get pictures, you get videos, all of these things that show your process, show the difference in the before and after, all of those things, which again can turn into tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars down the road. You can also get referrals. So these people have their own networks. So once you do their work, you do a great job, especially if you're doing it for very cheap or free, you can ask them for referrals very easily because you're doing them a big service by, offering it at a discount and or free. Plus, new businesses, small businesses, people typically like to help out. So that's another benefit for you. So you can also get referrals from those first 10 jobs, and I would highly recommend it. You can also get reviews. This is great for putting on your website. It builds social proof, which is basically a psychology thing where humans like to see that other humans have gotten the dream outcome that they are looking for with this specific company, right? So that is social proof, and you can get those reviews from those initial 10 jobs. You can also set up repeat services. So with these people, say that you clean their siding, right? You can set it up to where you come back once a year to maintain their siding for a little bit of a discount, because it's not gonna be as bad as it was since you just cleaned it the year before, but you can still get paid and help them by keeping their property clean. So those are just a few of the things that you want to get from those first 10. So just to recap, we're trying to get experience cleaning so that we actually know what we're doing when we go to get paid customers that are actually strangers and turn them into customers, right? We want to get content so we can use that for our advertising, our website, our Google My Business, our social media accounts, so on and so forth. We want to get referrals so that we can get more jobs lined up. We want to get reviews so that we have the social proof needed to actually go out and get additional jobs. We also want to try to set up repeat services with those customers. So that is it for cleaning the first 10, right? And that is step 5. So to recap again, we've gone through step 1, which is to make some sort of back of napkin plan, a quick plan so that we have something to move towards. Step 2, going to our initial network to ensure product market fit, land a few jobs. Step 3 is setting up everything with the business, so the legal stuff, licenses, insurance, getting a name, setting up an online presence, all of that stuff. Step 4 was figuring out the equipment. So are we gonna rent for those first 10 jobs so that we can make a little bit of money and then invest and buy something? Or are we gonna buy something cheap to get started and then reinvest later? Or are you gonna spend a bunch of money up front to get really nice equipment? Not what I recommend, but it's your money, so you do what you want with it. Step 5 was the cleaning, right? So we actually cleaned those first 10 jobs that we talked about, the ones that we got from our network, right? And we're getting those things from them that we mentioned, like the content, the experience cleaning, the reviews, the referrals, getting them set up for repeat services, so on and so forth. Step 6 is marketing and sales. And in my opinion, this is where the fun starts, right? So at this point, we've got everything set up. We're starting to take action. We're rolling. We've done a few jobs. We've got some content. We've got some reviews. We've got some referrals. Now it is time to let people know who we are and what we do, right? That is marketing and sales, right? The simplest definition of marketing that I have ever heard is to make known. And at this point, now that you have all of that stuff we've already talked about, it is time to let as many people know as possible who you are and what you do. There are a lot of ways to do this, and I like to break it down into 2 separate buckets, right? We've got one bucket where you have more time to spend towards your marketing, and we've got another bucket where you've got more money to spend towards your marketing. If you're anything like me and or most people that I talk to in this industry, you typically start out with a lot more time than you do money to invest into your marketing and advertising. So what we're gonna cover here is ways that you can actually market your business using time instead of money. All of these ways are free and or very cheap to do. So first things first, again, everything that we got from those initial 10 jobs, we're gonna start by actually utilizing that stuff. So again, posting on social media, starting to build a following, getting some sort of audience, using the reviews to put it on our Google My Business and start to get that built up so that if someone comes and searches for pressure washing near me or house washing near me, you're actually showing up with social proof and some posts on your Google My Business page, right? So the first thing we're gonna do, again, is do all of the stuff we already talked about and continue doing it. Continue doing the basics, right? From there, that's when you can actually move into free methods, right? So some examples of this: door-to-door, flyers. Yes, flyers cost a little bit, but they're very cheap. Yard signs, again, cost a little bit, but very cheap. You've got networking, you've got joint venture partners, you've got, all sorts of free things that you can do. But what I'll do is I'll give you a brief overview of exactly how we did it really quick. I'm not gonna go into all the methods here. It would be a very long video if I did that. We actually have a whole training over marketing stuff, and it's over 5 hours of video content. So not gonna get into all that in this one video. But what we actually did was we started with door-to-door, flyers, and yard signs. And we used those together to basically go out and make a bunch of noise. From there, as we scaled up, we moved into paid methods like Google ads, Facebook ads, radio, different things like that, direct mail, so on and so forth. But initially, again, you just wanna make as much noise as possible using whatever you have more of, time and or money. So that is step 6, is to actually go out and market and sell your services. So at this point, we have, again, gotten a few jobs, we got some stuff from those jobs, and we are starting to make noise. Step 7 is to scale that up. So As you start to land more and more jobs, as you market, as more people find out about you, you will get more customers. It's just how it works. And as that happens, you want to continue to market and advertise so that more and more people find out about you. And a big mistake that I see and I made in the beginning is stopping with the basics, right? Every customer, we should be asking for reviews and referrals. Every customer, we should be getting content to use in advertising on social media, on our website, so on and so forth. You want to keep doing those basics as you start to scale because the basics are what actually work, right? All the complexity does not scale. I learned that the hard way. We would try to add complexity, and as we added scale and or people, so on and so forth, it broke. So simplicity is what scales. So just keep doing the basics over and over again. But as you start to get jobs, again, don't forget basically what I call the 3 R's. So referrals, reviews, and repeat service. Every single job that you are doing after you have actually landed the job, that should be your next 3 goals, is to get a review, at least 1 referral, and a repeat service from that same client. From there, it is really important to track data. So this is gonna be everything, right? Tracking data is everything from your expenses to your marketing to basically any data that you can track. Business is about relationships, but a lot of business decisions can be made based on data, right? So having that data is super important. So being sure to actually track all of those things while you're going along will help you out as you progress forward, because you'll be able to make decisions that are accurate because you know data, right? Versus I think this or I feel this way, and then you try to make a decision, it might not work out for you. You might get lucky or you might not. But if you have data that tells you what has happened so far and you use that data to make decisions moving forward, then you are more likely to be successful because you're using data to make decisions, right? So you want to track your data and you want to just keep repeating that. We want to keep going out and marketing, keep getting jobs, keep getting referrals, reviews, so on and so forth, and tracking all of that data so that as we progress, we have stuff to make decisions on. From there, you'll start to get busy enough to where you can't do all of it on your own. And that is when it's time to actually start hiring employees, right? This is a part of scaling. So what you want to do is create systems. Systems get complicated. People try to overcomplicate systems. Let me say that. But a system is just a way of doing something, right? So simply documenting how you are cleaning a house, how you are interacting with the customer, how you are asking for a review. Just documenting all of those things very simply is a system, right? It's something where you're documenting it so someone else can follow the same process to get the same result. That is what a system is. So you want to create systems and then hire people. And as far as hiring, it doesn't really matter who you hire first. If you don't like doing sales, you could hire a salesman first. If you don't like doing the cleaning, you could hire a cleaning technician first. If you don't like the administrative stuff, you can hire someone to do the admin stuff first. That doesn't really matter, but again, you'll get to a point, especially if you're consistent with the marketing and advertising, because that's how you get new customers. If you're consistent with that, you'll get to a point where you literally can't do everything because there's not enough hours in a week. So that is when it makes sense to start hiring, but you need those systems so that the people you're hiring can produce the same results that you were producing when you were doing it yourself. If you don't give them that framework and or that blueprint or simply a checklist to follow, it's highly likely that they will produce a different result than you did. And speaking of checklists, that's what we did for a lot of the cleaning stuff. Simple checklists to ensure that our technicians, when they were actually on the job, did what we wanted them to do every single time, no matter what, to ensure every customer got the exact same experience and same result. So after that, you just repeat that again, right? So as you scale up, you'll hire more customers, hire more employees, keep making more systems and building the business. Really, if you're doing a few $100,000, it's still marketing and sales, right? Once you get to millions, typically is when you can stop marketing and selling and start focusing on some different things in the business. But initially, it's just getting people to know who you are, right? So to recap, we talked about having a plan, right? Market analysis, competitor analysis, figuring out some sort of gap in your market that you can fulfill so that you can have a successful business, putting together some sort of plan, talking about a goal, right? All of those things. Then we talked about product market fit, picking a service, going to your network, seeing if they have a desire and or need for those services, setting up a few jobs with your warm audience. Then from there, setting everything up with the business, the legal stuff, right? Some sort of legal entity, licenses, insurance, picking a name, a quick logo, setting up the online presence, landing page, Google My Business, social media listing, all of those things. Then we talked about the different options you have with equipment. From there, we talked about cleaning the first 10. And after that, we talked about marketing, marketing and sales, which basically, again, we're using that content that we got from those first 10 jobs to start that. And then we're doing some other things like door-to-door flyers, yard signs, Facebook ads, whatever you can to get your name out there. And then from there, we're talking about the scale, right? Where we're continually marketing and advertising, making more people aware, getting those jobs, doing the basics, the reviews, the referrals, the repeat services, providing a great service, right? All of the basics, tracking that data so we have it to make decisions as we move forward, repeating that whole process. And then as we get too busy, creating systems so that we can hire people and they can produce the same results that we did, right? And I'll give you a bonus, which is pricing, because this is a question I see a lot. So pricing is something that you can usually start to determine after you've done those initial, call it 10 jobs. Because in order to price effectively, we need to know what our cost is, right? So to determine cost, we kind of have to know how long it takes to clean, what equipment we need, the wear and tear that's going to happen on that equipment, what soap, what chemical, what cleaning agent that we need to use, and how much of it for each job. From there, those initial, again, 10 jobs, you'll have enough of the knowledge based on, labor costs, expenses, all of those things to actually reverse engineer the price. And I talked about reverse engineering a goal. Once you know that you've done a few jobs and you know about how big each job is or your average ticket and how many leads you get versus jobs and or your close rate, you can reverse engineer a goal and turn it into actionable things, right? And this all comes back to data. So tracking everything very diligently is super important in business. So that was 7 steps to basically going from nothing to having a successful pressure washing business. Now, this was not everything. It would be a very long video to do everything. There are a lot of things that you just have to figure out. As an entrepreneur, it is never easy, but it's one of those things where you just get up and figure it out and you can be successful. So I do hope this was super helpful. If it was, please subscribe, like this video. If you have any video requests, please leave a comment, let us know. Be happy to make requests based on what you put, if it's relevant. But other than that, yeah, check out the stuff we have in the links below. Always super helpful stuff down there for you. Usually a lot of free stuff as resources for you to use, so definitely check that out. But other than that, we will see you in the next one.